Final day of DWP. It's not DWP, is it? I'm just so tired. UW. You know, unleash the power. Unleash. That's unleash the power. And I think I don't know if I logged the video yesterday. I don't think I did. No, I did. Um, yeah, it was overall it was a positive experience. Um, Mainly because of the networking, the people, the connection, um, getting to see Tony speak, see a master at work, as he's a master communicator. That's what he is. He's an absolute master of communication. And as somebody who wants to be a public speaker, a professional public speaker, you can't get a better example of somebody who's mastered their craft. And yeah, just being able to see that was probably worth the money in terms of the content, the meditations, the teachings. I don't know. It seemed so superficial, and the environment that was created for it all. It was just so manufactured, jumping around, and I did it. I did everything. I gave my very best up until a point yesterday where I was just like, this isn't doing anything. I'm not being stimulated by it in any way. There were elements of being slightly self-conscious with the dancing, and I identified it, and I was like, okay, for that reason, I'm going to bring some awareness and some consciousness into this and do it for that reason, more so than anything else. So I knew I was benefiting from it. And yeah, that kind of eliminated itself. So I balanced out in that respect. But teachings, like the content that I will probably give some attention is a workbook that he gave. And I'll just look at some of the stuff in regards to ordering values, and you've got values, and then he's got this thing where he talks about everyone has 6 human needs that need to be fulfilled, and he wants you to put those in order. So I'm gonna reflect on that stuff. And it's not life changing. It's not groundbreaking. It's his blueprint, on the research that he's done, and he's one of the leaders in human psychology, I suppose, practical psychology. But he's, it's not the only school of thought. And you can go and sit with, different faiths, and they'll give you a blueprint for your life. Also, every religion, NAAA, will give you a blueprint. Buddhism will give you Vipassana will give you a blueprint. It's like, what can you relate to that brings out the best in you and gives you more clarity, more direction. And what I realise is there's so many high achievers in that room. There's a lot of high achievers, and then there's people that just want to up their game in terms of where they are in life. And I was just so shocked and so surprised to see how easily people are manipulated. Because if people have never experienced meditation before, some of this stuff is, it's gonna give you value, right? So if you haven't done anything before, it's just like, if you've never gone to the gym before, and then you get a personal trainer straight away, like, he's gonna be like amazing, isn't he? Because he's getting you results, and you've never had a workout before, right? But now you work out with a personal trainer, so you're gonna give him all the credit, right? So I think it's a lot of that, because people are just like hysterical about everything that's being said, and it's like, okay, well, why are they hysterical? Because a lot of this stuff is common. Some of it's just common sense. Don't eat processed foods. Towards the end, I did a health bit. don't eat processed foods and sugars, and everyone's jumping up and down like as if this is groundbreaking stuff, and it's just like they've just been so conditioned over the days that were there to believe that everything that's being said and fed to them was gospel, and it just wasn't the case, you know. And to have to have kind of logical, objective discussions about that was difficult. There were some people that you could have the conversations, but some people were just completely overwhelmed with the environment, and you couldn't if you weren't taking anything of benefit from the situation, from what they were taking benefit or they were taking value from, then there was something wrong with you, or you weren't doing what you should have been doing. And and then I just got put off. I got put off by I'm just in it for serving others. And yeah, I mean, he does love, you can see it, he's passionate and he loves people. He loves serving people, but don't make out that you're any different from a corporation when you're charging what you're charging people. You're a corporation yourself, in my opinion. Don't cast out the corporations and say they're just in it for their shareholders and that's all they care about. Because you're trying to pump a product out of 20 grand with no pre-frame or context for the people that might buy it. Because the people that you might push your product on and they can get credit on it and they can put down a deposit, might not have the money, but because they're so consumed with or taken in by the environment and hysteria, might make some careless decisions. This is what I was having a conversation about with someone at the very end, and it's like, there are some vulnerable people there, right? There's some really high achievers and wealthy people, but at the same time, there are some vulnerable people there. There are definitely vulnerable people there. I know that there was the cheapest ticket was £1,000, which is what I got silver. And let's say, look, there was a young lad that was next to me, 26, and I snapped at one point when they were trying to sell the platinum and saying, if you want to be successful, put your hands up. If you don't want to be successful, put your hands up. If you don't want to be successful, it's like, well, people have made a lot of effort to come here. Like, why would you say that? Like, trying to manipulate people, right? Oh, well, if you're not buying this 20 grand product, then you just don't want to be successful. That's what they're basically getting at. And it's like this kid who heard me, I was just speaking my mind. I was pissed, like, because I didn't like the way that they were interrupting the seminar to do this, and it was just out of bad taste. And pretty much every person that I'd spoken to felt the same way. It was in really poor taste, the way they did, the way they just stopped the thing, the third day, and they just started pushing these products, and a lot of people got up and walked off. But when I mentioned it to this kid, he was 26 or something, I think. When I mentioned it to him, he was upset. He's like, could you just please not, I'm trying to listen. Like, he kind of snapped, because I was just kind of airing my opinions. It's just speaking as I was thinking, and he was upset, because now Tony's his hero. It's like anything that comes out of his mouth, or anything comes out of that corporation's mouth, is gospel, and nothing. I can't say a bad word. And so that, is what it is. But I would like to think that you would take into account that some people may not have the money, but there was clearly no, you know, for an organisation that says that it's just doing it for the people, right? But not maybe taking into context what people's financial status would be, because it was a matter of it was pressure selling to people who were being opened up vulnerably to the most deepest parts of themselves in these meditations, and then it's banging with a sale, talking about what they would do if they never were able to achieve the highest goals. And there's, talking about families and pain, and then people are crying their eyes out, they're fucking bawling their eyes out, right? And then it finishes, and then it's like bang, sale time, and it's like, it's a bit naughty, isn't it? Like, just doing it for the people, really? It's just timed everything, get them everyone just got really vulnerable, and it was just like bang, push these other products on, and it was just like, it just didn't feel right. It didn't seem right at all. So overall, I'm happy. I got to see Tony Robbins speak. He's a master at his craft. I got to connect with some people. Are there any long-standing relationships that are going to come out of this? Probably not. I might get a sale or two out of it. Do I feel like I've taken a great deal? I don't know, in terms of whether it will have an impact on me going home. I was interested to see what the impact of just being exhausted from like 8-9 o'clock to 8-9 o'clock, and just keep going, and to have to keep going, jumping up and getting up, and sitting down, jumping up, sitting down, jumping up, getting up, dancing, sitting down. So I think the idea was just to emotionally go on a roller coaster along with your energy levels, and just keep pushing yourself potentially, and then they just suggest and seed certain ideas and things. But me, I know when I've had a shift. I didn't get a shift, and I managed my expectations, because I went to see Tony before. He was a guest speaker in Dusseldorf a few years back, and I was like, my expectations were right up, really high, and then it was just like, I came away and I was like, didn't take anything from it. But I've done some work. I've done some work on myself. Done a lot of work on myself. Somebody who sits for multiple hours, regularly and meditates. Like, you're not going to switch. You're going to get in there in 10 minutes and start messing around with my software or my software. You're getting into the operating system in 10 minutes. Like, I had to work hard to overcome drug addiction, depression, anxiety. Like, I've had to work hours and do a lot of hard work. Like, I don't care who you are, you're not coming in there in 10 minutes like that, and then it's not going to happen, and I really wish that I was one of those people. But I'm not one of those people. And that's my reality, and I know that, I have to do the work if I want to make change. Like, and I'm just not one of those people. And what I feel with a lot of people potentially is there's demand there, because a lot of these people are just probably working, and they've never stopped to maybe look at themselves, sit with themselves for 5-10 minutes, do a meditation, and scratch beneath the surface. But it didn't take much. 10-minute meditation, start talking about something personal, and they just like feel like these fountains and just explode with emotion. And but I suppose if you've done some work on yourself, it might be different. So overall, for me, there wasn't massive value, apart from the fact that there was an opportunity to connect with some beautiful people, some really loving, decent people. But I feel we're all that there, right? You could probably connect with most people. It's just being able to bring that out in somebody, and you know, we've all got more in common than we have, you know, different, that makes us different, right? And you're just in an environment where people have let their guard down, and you're able to find commonalities. And just, you don't even have to find commonalities. You just, when you're breaking down barriers, and you're hugging someone, and that's the oxytocin from that. It just makes you feel like you're having a great time. And you can go to a fucking NA meeting and go hug fucking 20 people. It's not the same thing. I'm not gonna lie. But that is my review. Probably less intense as the last two, because I was just dealing with some, probably, you're jumping up and down and you're not sleeping, so I probably had some, there was probably some emotional stuff that I wasn't dealing with from frustrations in the day. Like for me, I had basically abandoned my practices and my meditation. So I completely surrendered and submitted to what Tony was teaching. Usually I'll get up and I'll do my meditations and cold exposure, and I wasn't doing that. And so the stuff that I was picking up, I was probably carrying it with a little bit more intensity than what I usually would do. And what I noticed is my state actually dropped. Usually I can speak to any girl. You know, if I'm doing my thing, I'm quite comfortable, and that was my thing, having anxiety around speaking to women way back when, and sometimes it comes back, women that I find attractive, and sometimes it comes back, and and I always have, certain exercise to put me in a peak state, which is what we were basically working towards. Pretty much the whole thing is just about being in a state, peak state. And I noticed that I did see some girls that I found quite attractive, and I didn't, I was hesitant to speak to them. And that was like, okay, well, I've just surrendered and given myself over to you and your rituals and everything that you're teaching, and I feel worse than what I usually do, you know. So if anything, it just highlights how effective my own practices are for me. And I feel like, well, the people that I've taken out, they have a shift. They have a massive shift. Now, I would go to the toilet for break times, right? And you've got this big queue of people, 50 to 100 people queuing for the toilets, and everyone's just shut down. They're not even talking. They're just quiet. And it's like, okay, well, 5 minutes ago you were jumping around hugging each other. I don't care if it's in the queue to the toilet. You still, like, it's like before you leave the room, they'll stop you, play some music, and say, right, don't you dare walk out of here unless you're in a peak state. When I took it like with me, and I was just like, this is too funny. I'm standing there in the bathroom, and I'm pissing and I'm screaming. They're getting you to say something like, I am amazing. Like, okay, fair enough. May do something for some people, but wasn't for me. So I'm stood there holding my fucking dick, and I'm pissing, and I'm screaming how amazing this piss is. And that was the best part, because I'm walking out, everyone's just standing there, fucking gormless. You've got 50 people, women included, because the women's toilets were blocked up or whatever. And I'm walking out, and I'm just like, yes, because this is what they do. Yes, yes. I walked out, I've just told everyone I had an amazing piss, and I'm just screaming, yes. It was a peak piss. I was in a peak state. I'm pissing myself, and everyone else is pissing. I've already pissed, but it was like funny pissing myself. And everyone stood there, and then they just start laughing. Everyone's just laughing, and it was just hilarious. And it's just like, they walk out, and then they're just like, oh, they just drop, like the energy drops, and then you're in the toilet. And I was just like, yeah, well, this is me. Like, I just like to just fuck around, regardless. I don't really need people. I don't need I don't need manufactured engine. I don't need I don't need a manufactured environment. I will try and create that environment myself, and then take that state with me, based off of what I'm doing. Not, I don't have to go to a place where there's people that that I'm dependent upon. And that's what social freedom has given me, right? And I have to go into a seminar to create that. And it's like you still get the odd person in the bathroom or outside of the venue. Like I'm going around and I'm doing me, right? Some people are loving it, they're laughing, right? And some people are like, it's like you were just jumping around in the hall, picking your nose, because Tony was like, you got to take your limiting beliefs and stick your finger up your nose and repeat it in a silly tone of voice. And it's like, you guys think there's some sort of misalignment with the way I'm behaving because I'm cracking the odd joke and doing something or whatever. But then, yeah, there's some misalignment in the way that I may be presenting myself. You just had your finger up your nose in the fucking hall. Like, and you're looking at me like I'm weird. But it's okay when you're in the hall. But when you come out of here, it's just like, because you're not in your little environment, your little safe haven, with people giving you instructions, well, you can't do it outside the hall. So all in all, yeah. Would I spend the money again? No. Would I go to another Tony Robbins event? No. One's enough. I hope this helps somebody, gives someone some insight. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go. It depends where you are in your journey. Just know that it's not the only solution. There can be a lot of value, but for me, I would say that if you're somebody who's already started working on themselves and has done some work on himself, just maybe hold off and just, if you've got the financial freedom, yeah, great. But if you don't, then just think twice before you go. I hope this gives some insight into somebody, for some, to people who are thinking of going, and either if you do or you don't. I'm not saying don't go, but I'm just saying I wouldn't invest in it again myself. So I hope this helps.